Am I the asshole for shaming someone's poverty with my choice? I, 20, F. Recently went to stay with my husband's, 25 per meter, parents for the first time. Along with him we are recently married. We'll be here for 2 more weeks. I'm fortunate to get along with his family really well. During the course of the visit, I ended up buying myself a specific kind of pillowcase online, to be delivered to me at my in-laws. I have an autoimmune skin condition which is significantly worsened by sleeping on particular fabrics, severe enough to matter. E.g., very visible rash plus discomfort. The pillowcase was relatively expensive, but I thought it's fine as I could add it into my rotation at home. My husband was very upset about my purchase and insisted I shouldn't use it. Context. My family is from a somewhat significantly higher economic bracket than my husband's family. It hasn't really caused tensions before, but my husband thought this pillowcase purchase was one. Flaunting my ability to buy something expensive easily too. Shaming his family for their lesser quality pillowcases. He suggested I try using some topical medicine if I have an outbreak. I argued that I absolutely would not mind what pillowcase I sleep on, were it not for the skin condition I have, and prefer to use the pillowcase because I find many topical medicines ineffective. My husband threw the pillowcase away while I was out with Mill, and on waking the next day my face was red and painful. I bought another pillowcase, intending to keep it hidden and pull it out just at bedtime, to minimize potentially offending his parents, and pissing off husband, but he found this one as well and basically told me I should leave his parents' home if I'm too good to sleep on their pillowcases. I absolutely do not want to upstage his parents' linens or cause them any offense, I like them a lot. I also can't imagine voluntarily enduring skin outbreaks for the next 2 weeks. I feel like I should be standing my ground in this argument, but I also don't want to ruin this holiday with a relatively petty issue. Am I the asshole? Additional info I forgot. I did get a nice pattern which I like, so not the absolutely cheapest pillowcase of this material. It's visibly a nice pillowcase. Update. Wow, this became so dramatic. Mill commented again on my outbreak breakfast. My husband was right there, so I just said it's usually worse in the morning. Mill asked if it might be the detergent on the bedclothes or the air freshener in the room, and offered to switch brands. Husband got super annoyed like, FFS, you don't need to go buy her a special detergent. She could use a cream if she wanted to. Mill said anyway she'd be happy to get something if it would help, and husband said that wasn't the case when he was growing up. It became a list of complaints that I had no idea he was silently stewing on. Apparently I am pretty careless about small purchases. Some listed examples. Buying a new pair of nail clippers when I hadn't checked properly for the others, and tending to buy upgrades with purchases which I don't really need. I actually could probably be better with money overall, and we clearly relate differently to purchases. He mentioned some instances of going without when he was growing up which are still troubling him. There was a lot of falsetto imitation of me acting like a diva, which actually made me crack up a bit. It was so odd. Mill was just blinking through most of this, and I think some of his comments about his childhood hit her hard. When he huffed off, I apologized for being the source of drama. She said she also didn't know he was carrying this baggage and said to her memory, the really financially rough periods were limited to a few years in his early teens. We had a sort of heart-to-heart about the whole experience, and I mentioned at some point that I usually sleep on X material and could just order a pillowcase, which she was totally okay with. I didn't mention the conflict about it, as it seemed like she'd had enough negative info for the morning lull. Husband hasn't come back yet. He went over to FIL's worksite for the day, so I don't know how it's going to play, but it's clear now that he has some trauma surrounding finances and it's going to need some real discussion. I can see it becoming a huge issue down the line, as many commenters have said. Thanks to everyone for the feedback and advice. It's been helpful to confirm that I'm not being so petty and should address this whole issue. Not the asshole. I would talk to your in-laws, because I'm almost certain they would be horrified by your husband's behavior. So your husband would rather you be uncomfortable and rashy while visiting his parents for 2 weeks, and you think why? Not the asshole BTW. Not the asshole. Your husband sounds controlling and unreasonable beyond comprehension. This is a huge red flag. If someone had celiac disease, and needs to buy gluten-free bread which may be more expensive, are they the Nope. No. Never. Likewise, you're not the asshole for taking care of yourself. Throwing out a perfectly good, and absolutely helpful, pillowcase just because he's insecure about his finances is giving a lot of red flags? It's disrespectful towards you. your condition, and your belongings, and he's acting like your money does not matter. It's definitely not a petty issue. Not the asshole, and I think you need to leave. This is borderline abusive on his part. It's also not a petty issue. He's okay with you being covered in a rash for 2 weeks over some imagined slight. Not the asshole. You're not buying the pillowcase as a status symbol, you're doing it to cope with a medical condition. Healthcare can be expensive no matter what walk of life you come from, and the pillowcase is no different than a person buying a cane or a brace to manage a condition. Not the asshole, but boy, your husband sure is. I would hope your in-laws would be mortified at his treatment of you. What a shit thing for him to do. Not the asshole. He sounds very insecure about your family's greater wealth. Purchasing this pillowcase was not an indulgence, but a medical necessity. It makes no sense that he would rather you treat than prevent a reaction. Certainly his family can understand that it's a matter of your skin reacting to certain fabrics rather than your thinking his family's linens aren't good enough. Am I the asshole for asking a woman I don't really know to twerk for me on my birthday? 60 days ago, I, 45M, attended a training class, 20 people, at the local gym. After the class was over, the trainers announced that one of the gals was celebrating her birthday. Everybody cheered, saying happy B-day, etc. All was fine when one of the other ladies in the class, 35F, started twerking next to the birthday gal. The twerking was maybe done in jest, but am I prudish? I still found it to be wrong behavior in such a public setting. So, as this was happening, I, passively-aggressively, went up to the twerking woman, TW, and asked, "Are you going to do that for my birthday?" I had no desire for TW to really do it. Rather, I was trying to call TW out on emo, wrong behavior and/or a double standard. I knew TW twerking for ME in this scenario would be wrong. So why would it be okay for TW to twerk for anybody in the same scenario? In response, TW got a little red-faced and stopped. End of class. Last week, 50 days later, I'm at the same gym with my wife, 41F, in a class that also included TW. After class, one of the other guys in the group, 35M, comes up to me and says, "I don't want you talking to my wife ever again." I ask, "Who's your wife?" He points to TW. Crap. I don't recall if he was there at the same time the twerking took place or if TW told him about it later. Regardless, I guess he thought I was trying to hit on TW, etc. That was the last thing on my mind, but, fair enough. I owned up to it and promised him that I would never talk to TW again. On the way home from the gym, my wife asked me what the exchange between me and the other guy was all about. I told her everything. She said nothing in response, which led me to believe, case closed. Today, my wife sat me down to talk about the incident. She assured me that she and I were okay, but told me that I should apologize to TW. Why? My initial response could have been interpreted as misogynistic. It really, wasn't misogynistic. From my POV, if a man did the twerking, I would have probably said the same thing to him. My wife still let me know that women go through this sort of crap all the time. Men harass women at times that men should just leave them alone. My response to TW could have also been seen as a personal request. I guess I could have said, "Are you going to do that for everybody else's birthday?" I could have also said nothing. That's the way I've been in the past, but now, if I see or hear something I think is wrong, I'm more prone to point it out. I do regret my word choice, especially since I don't know TW. I'll try to apologize to TW, with approval, for saying the words I said. However, I believe that TW should have thought twice about her behavior in the first place. I don't have a reason to apologize for calling out the behavior. I just regret not saying something less sexist, personal. Am I the asshole for responding in the first place? And #X200B. Edit. Oof. I was expecting to get slammed, but not for the reasons I was thinking and not this hard. Definitely an eye-opener. For what it's worth, I'm pretty sure TW and birthday gal were not friends. BG was celebrating her 18th birthday, so there was a significant age gap between the two. I didn't include that in my post because I didn't think it was relevant, but maybe it was. Man shrugging. That doesn't make my reaction any more justified, of course. I really appreciate everybody's candid answers. It seems I still got a lot of growing up to do. Better late than never. Oh my. How inappropriate for her to move her body in a way that some dude at her gym, didn't like. What a scandal. You are the asshole. Kindly refrain from talking to women about, well, anything really. I didn't like what an adult woman did for fun to celebrate someone's birthday, so I embarrassed them and made them feel uncomfortable by joking about them dancing on me. I made up a scenario where I would do the same thing to a man if he was twerking in an attempt to prove I'm not misogynistic. My wife explained why I shouldn't have said something, but I still think the woman who was twerking is wrong. I'll begrudgingly apologize to save face, but I won't mean it. Yeah, you are the asshole. You are the asshole. Jesus Christ op. All this drama because a woman was twerking for someone's birthday? Really? You couldn't have just minded your own business and avoided all this drama? This was the hill you wanted to die on? You are the asshole. First you're being prudish and gross policing women's bodies at the gym. Worse, saying will you twerk for me on my birthday, is light sexual harassment and you're lucky the gym didn't kick you out. I wouldn't apologize because that would honestly mostly just be uncomfortable and threatening to her. I would just leave any class you see her in. Why did you feel the need to step into a situation that had nothing to do with you? You are the asshole. I have neither the energy or the crayons to even begin to explain why I think you are the asshole. FYI, at first I was like ew, creepy, and then you explained why you said and just wowwwww so much worse. Oh look. Guess I mustered the energy after all. Info. What is wrong with you? You are the asshole. You were aggressive for no reason, and should have averted your eyes if it bothered you so much. Am I the asshole for how I acted at my boyfriend's birthday? I'm really starting to doubt myself here and I need a non-biased opinion. The birthday was last night. We are all vaccinated and it wasn't a large party, but I had to work this morning so I was careful about drinking, but obviously most people were not. So at one point, one of my BF's friends starts telling me how happy he is that we, boyfriend and I, are together, how I make him so happy and so on, and we start talking about it and hugging, which was, or at least so I thought, in a friendly manner. Well, cue to this morning, my boyfriend isn't really talking to me. He ends up telling me that he didn't like that I got drunk, which, again, I wasn't, last night, and was hugging his friend and how everyone felt uncomfortable and was looking the other way. I apologized and told him what we were talking about, and he said that it didn't matter, and that people didn't know how to react. I then told him that I didn't appreciate him saying I was drunk and embarrassed him in front of everyone, because it's simply not true and I was just reciprocating a friendly and platonic display of affection initiated by his friend. He said I made it awkward, and when I asked why it wasn't awkward that he, friend, was hugging me but the fact that I was hugging him back was, he said, well it just is. I honestly don't know what to think. I genuinely didn't mean anything more than a friendly thing, especially since his friend was talking about how great our relationship is. Again, boyfriend and I. Now I'm wondering if I was in the wrong. Did I really embarrass my boyfriend? ETA. What got me questioning everything is that my boyfriend usually isn't a jealous person. In almost 3 years he's only ever shown an ounce of jealousy once, and I feel like it was justified. He brought up my friendship with a man he doesn't know. It was resolved in a matter of minutes. But the fact that he used the argument of everyone feeling awkward, and then the fact he told me it's okay for his friend to hug me but not for me to hug him back, paraphrasing here, made me think that I'm not the asshole here, and I still don't know if he is jealous or if he truly feels like I embarrassed him in front of his friends by acting in an inappropriate manner. ETA 2. Well, apparently he thinks I'm overly friendly, and that it was ugly that I did that in front of people. I'm okay with either one of us having a different perception about boundaries and what overly friendly means, but I really wish he would have said something about it sooner. Final update. So, according to my boyfriend, I am sometimes too friendly with some people, and while he knows it means nothing, he felt like other people might feel differently. As someone pointed out, as long as he knows the truth, that shouldn't be a problem, but apparently it is a pride, ego thing and not a jealousy thing. I told him that, and also that it's fine if we have different boundaries, but he should say something about it immediately instead of holding it in and making me feel like shit for how I act, my personality in general, especially since he knows me well by now. I guess we just have different perspectives on the matter. Not the asshole. That's really weird. He's trying to pin it on you, when you were just hugging a friend. If he was embarrassed, that's on him. It's a major red flag. He's blaming you. Location flag. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend has some serious insecurity issues that you both need to address ASAP. It will only get worse over time. I used to be this guy. It's insufferable. He's gaslighting you. Not the asshole. Time to go. Location flag. Not the asshole. Even if you were drunk, why would someone who cares about you try to make you feel embarrassed or ashamed? You've done nothing wrong. Not the asshole. It's telling that your partner makes excuses for his friend who started the contact, but held you fully responsible for responding in a way that makes complete sense, given the context. Your boyfriend, if he had a modicum or trust and respect for you, should have shut down his friends if they actually did comment on the hug. I highly suspect, though, that nobody else was paying attention and your partner is trying to guilt you by lying about being the only one who interpreted a platonic interaction as being more than that. If he has anyone to confront, it's his friend for putting you in that spot, but, like I said, you're allowed to have platonic interactions and it's not your fault that your partner is looking way too far into things. Not the asshole. Run. Not the asshole. You didn't really act, anyway. Sounds like your boyfriend is jealous or has some issues that y'all need to get to the bottom of. He needs to listen to your side instead of just being accusatory. Also, saying something, just as awkward without any explanation is unfair. If this is something you're really worried about, next time, be sure to read the other people's expressions so you know for sure if you were making other people feel awkward. Don't just trust your BF's take. Not the asshole. He's pinning it all on you cause he's probably too much of a coward to confront his friend about something he knows is a non-issue. The reality probably is that no one was looking or cared, but he's using it to drive the story, just my guess. I feel like if it was that much of a problem for the whole room he would have confronted you straight on and had you clear it up. Would I be the asshole if I don't tell my best friend's dying mother that my son is actually her grandson? Title is a bit of a doozy. I'll do my best to explain. Ages are current to now. And #X200B. I, 37M, am 100% sterile due to a childhood accident. My wife, 35F. And I considered our options when starting a family, and agreed a sperm donor situation would be the most affordable, accessible option available to us. After looking into more traditional methods, we both concluded that an anonymous nut in a cup was a little weird and impersonal for us both. After a lot of irrelevant interlude, my best friend, John, 39M, agreed to be the donor and #X200B. This was years ago and my wife and I now have a son, Abram, changed obviously, 7M, from this arrangement. We've also adopted a second child, Lily, 4F. John is a part of both of my children's lives and we are all very close, but they have no clue he is Abram's bio dad and neither really does anyone else. A few close relatives know he isn't biologically mine, but only because they know I'm sterile. Even our friends don't really know, it just isn't relevant and we're private people. And #X200B. John is single and has been pretty much his whole life. He's financially and career motivated and just hasn't ever settled down, and doesn't really plan to now. With Abram, he has a bio child and he can interact with him, but no responsibility at all. It works and hasn't been an issue until now. And #X200B. Although he has a brother, 45M, his brother definitely will never have children. His mother, late 60s, has always sort of wanted grandkids, I guess, but never made much of a fuss. But she recently found she has terminal cancer and only a year or so to live, and has now been saying her big regret is never getting to be a grandmother, etc. And #X200B. John has come to my wife and I and asked us to let Abram know he is his biological father, so that he can let his mother have a grandmother-grandchild relationship. Neither my wife nor I want to rock the boat in any of the ways that entails, and have told him as much. And #X200B. But now he's saying after all he's done, all he's asking for is to let his son know his family, and that he always assumed we'd someday tell everyone. This is something we adamantly were not interested in doing, so I'm assuming this is all from him being shocked, upset about his mother, but I put my foot down and told him a solid no. And #X200B. Now he's saying I'm an asshole and I'll be crushing his mother's dreams if I don't let him tell Abram. And #X200B. Will I be the asshole if I don't relent? And #X200B. Edit. I've not had much time to read, process the responses, much less reply myself, but to clarify. Lily does know she is adopted, our ethnicities are different, etc. Our main reason to not tell Abram has had nothing to do with him, and I'm sure we were always going to let him know eventually, especially that he isn't biologically related to me, but we haven't wanted to complicate his relationship with John or to give him a reason to be bullied, etc. Mostly the latter, with our main fear being that kids would assume affair or something like that, due to the community we live in, reasonably conservative and very nosy. You are the asshole. I mean, this is why people pay for the anonymous and impersonal nut in a cup. You wanted the personal nut in a cup. Son should know eventually, if only for medical history reasons. Imagine he finds out 11 years from now, his resentment at not being told the truth his whole life, and never getting to know his grandmother even though he could have. Or if John decides this is a bad deal for him and sues for paternity rights. Or John decides to let the cat out of the bag before you tell your son. Nah, but at some point you need to let the child know he's not biologically yours. If there's a history of health issues, if he gets sick and need a match with someone, takes an ancestry kit, he's gonna find out. And he's likely going to be upset that you lied to him for years. Do you not plan on telling daughter she's adopted either? Absolutely not. He isn't his son, he isn't the boy's father. He is a sperm donor. Don't mess up your son because of he is getting regrets of not having children. Not the asshole. Everyone sucks here honestly for entering into this agreement, or at least entering it without a contract which clearly stipulates roles. He could clearly have laid claim to his son at any point, even without the dying mother situation. I do feel for you though. This is an extremely tough situation and you are not the AH for not wanting to reveal the truth. At the same time, there is nothing stopping your friend from revealing the truth. See if there is any damage control you can do from legal perspective right away so he can't claim rights as a biological father, since, I assume, there isn't any proof that he was only a donor. Not the asshole. But isn't there some sort of middle ground you guys could reach where he can tell his mother, but make her understand that you're not ready to tell your son yet? There are ways for her to have a relationship with him at this age without him knowing she's his biological grandmother. Kids used to call my grandmother, Grandma, all the time growing up because she ran a candy shop. I guess you don't owe your friend this, but this is why it's better to go with an anonymous donor. I definitely think you need to tell your son when he's old enough to understand. Not the asshole. Curious if you have anything in writing about what the terms of this arrangement are supposed to be. Not the asshole. Your son is not his son, and has no rights at all. The way he is talking about it, calling himself the biological father when he is just the sperm donor, would make me not want to do that for him even more. His mother wouldn't have a grandchild because his mother doesn't have a grandchild. And he doesn't get to have a say if they get to have that relationship because again he has no rights. If you used a donor from a clinic, the donor's mother would never know or meet the child, so this should be no different if you don't feel comfortable. You are the asshole. You didn't want nut in a cup because it was too impersonal, so now you have to deal with the personal. Oh wait. Did you only want the benefits of the personal relationship when it was in your favor, but none of the personal stuff if it required any effort from your end of the deal? Sorry brah, not how it works.